Hello and welcome to The Bright Side, the show that focuses on the people, places, and stories about the real Michigan. Today's episode is focused on land banks in Michigan. If Michigan's cities and towns are going to be the vibrant places that they need to be welcoming to new residents and to be the driver of the next economy, we need to find ways to repurpose our vacant, abandoned, tax foreclosed properties. I'm today's host, Dan Kildee, and I'm the president of the Center for Community Progress. Community Progress is a national nonprofit organization whose mission is to help cities and towns across the country to develop policies and new capacity to repurpose their vacant, abandoned, tax foreclosed properties. Community Progress has worked with nearly all 40 of Michigan's land banks to develop new systems, new approaches, and land bank programs to help deal with this problem. Land banks across Michigan have affected residents in those communities in lots of different ways. Let's go to the streets of Michigan and find out how land banks are working in their communities.
The idea behind a land bank is to become a holding tank for these abandoned properties.
So what was an abandoned rail corridor can now be a corridor for economic development.
They also are taking homes in the area that are foreclosed upon and they're refurbishing them and actually doing a really nice job.
Yeah, they're just cleaning up the community and trying to better it, and that's good. Good for everybody. They're good for me, keep me working.
We've all seen the abandoned homes in our neighborhoods. These vacant properties often create safety issues and affect our own property values. Land banks can take these abandoned homes and buildings and turn them into something great for our community. In 2002, the first land bank in Michigan was created in Genesee County. In 2004, Michigan passed legislation called the Land Bank Fast Track Authority Act, allowing counties and the city of Detroit to create land bank authorities. Today, there are 40 land banks operating in Michigan. Each land bank operates differently based on the needs and values of their local communities. They usually acquire property through the tax foreclosure process. Here are some of the things that land banks can do with properties they have. Demolition. Land banks make neighborhoods safer by destroying abandoned buildings. The cleared land can be used by next-door neighbors for gardens or space for children to play. Deconstruction. This is the same as demolition, except the abandoned building is taken apart piece by piece and recycled. This is really important because currently 1/3 of our cities are ending up in landfills. Housing. Land banks can rehabilitate old homes or build new ones to provide quality, affordable housing in the community. Commercial development. A land bank can sell property to developers or business owners, generating new economic activity. Community improvement. Land banks can use land they have to build new roads, develop recreational space, and manage environmental cleanup. Michigan's land banks are a powerful solution to foreclosed and abandoned property. Land banks have empowered communities to turn growing problems into solutions that benefit everyone and improve our neighborhoods.
Our next stop is right here in Flint, Michigan, where the Genesee County Land Bank has partnered with Mott Community College to deconstruct a house owned by the land bank.
This is a workforce development project sponsored by Mott College, and what we're doing here is we're teaching a segment on deconstruction.
Instead of demolition, where they have a bulldozer and all that come in and just demolish a house, we're tearing it down by hand, piece by piece.
Putting 1/3 of the mass of our greatest cities in a hole in the ground makes no sense. To keep doing things the way we've done them in the past is not a good excuse anymore. We've got to try to figure a better way forward.
Virtually 80 to 90% of a house can be recycled. Land Bank donated the house to us and gave us the opportunity to have this as a training exercise.
Genesee County was the first land bank in Michigan under legislation that was passed in the early part of this past decade. And we've become kind of a model for other land banks both in Michigan and around the country. Land banks were created as a way of dealing with tax foreclosed properties. The law changed in around 2000 to allow counties to be the foreclosing governmental unit. The deconstruction project that we're working on today with Mott Community College is a class that's being run by the Detroit Architectural Warehouse.
You know, but it's a good experience.
The best experience as far as on-job training that I ever had.
It's a pretty good program.
Because it's jobs. The quota from regular demolition to deconstruction is 7-to-1 on the employment factor. We could have unemployed workers hired, brought in and trained in deconstruction, and they could be taking down all the thousands of houses that are left blighted, abandoned, and destroying the neighborhoods.
With deconstruction, you can recycle more items. It's an extra source of income for cities like ours in Flint. You know, we're economically distressed and depressed. So this is another way to generate income by refurbishing the usable materials. It's doable, and plus it helps beautify the city. Getting rid of blighted properties such as these reduces it from being hazards and crime scenes for drugs and all kind of other things that go on, and keeps our kids safe.
We're here in the Carriagetown Antique Center, a small business that is actually a land bank project. And small business is really important to the vitality of American cities and cities here in Michigan for sure. So let's head to Lansing, where the Ingham County Land Bank Authority has used its tools to support the development of a small business incubator.
I came across the building from Eric Schertzing with the Ingham County Land Bank. He had known that we were looking for a building that represented really what we do, which is urban revitalization, brownfield redevelopment, and we wanted to combine our offices with a shared office group called NEO. We told Eric about it, and Eric and I were in Mason looking at a building. We had been in the building for a while, and he said, well, what do you think about this building for you? And I said, yeah, I like it a lot. I said, but we want to be in Lansing. And he said, well, I think I got a building for you. The building was built in 1913. It was a bakery originally. It was the Goss family bakery. But then it was Lansing Lithography, so it was a print shop. And it was a print shop for like 60 years. But there were elements of the building that we knew that we could keep that would just be really neat. We kept the block. The block is a very odd shape. They don't make it anymore. One that you come, we walk in, on the main level, there's a ton of hardwood floors. Those are original. Those are 1913 hardwood floors.
This was a tax foreclosure from several years ago that this county treasurer I foreclosed on. You know, identified it as not something to take to the auction. Just whoever happened to show up on auction day wasn't likely to be the rebirth of this forlorn property. So we moved it over into the Land Bank Authority.
Showed it to Kincaid Henry, and then Kincaid Henry showed it to us. The name is the Center for New Enterprise Opportunity, or NEO Center for short. We're looking for a space to create an incubator. Basically, instead of taking out a large space for somebody who's never started a business, taking a second mortgage maybe out on your house, leveraging a bunch of your assets, we're trying to reduce the risk for people to start businesses in the first place. So we give them smaller space, access to resources people need to start their businesses, like an accountant, like a lawyer, hopefully like pre-seed capital and access to capital to start their business. So that way it's easier for people to kind of take that risk. Basically get people, to steal from a colleague of mine, to get people to fail fast if they're going to fail at all. So that way they haven't spent a bunch of money, they haven't spent too many resources, they can come back and try again. Which is an added perk if the slide's not enough for you. These here are some of our private offices. LinkedIn has a satellite office here, and this is a shared kitchen, which is pretty fantastic. Everything short of a stovetop. This is the shared conference room here. nice and big.
We have more area, which we desperately needed. I have a private office, which I desperately needed. There's lots of meeting space. It looks very professional, yet it's really, really fun.
We hope this is more than just a building for this community. We want our tenants to be engaged in helping develop and revitalize the surrounding area. It's NSP2 neighborhood, so we hope there's a lot of opportunities to create a live, work, play environment for our tenants and for the residents that are here currently.
The fact that the land bank is picking up these properties and is in relationships with people like ourselves that are interested in doing urban core work is critical. What I really appreciate about the land bank is the strategic stop and saying we're not just going to take this property and sell it again to a speculator or to just for cheap to somebody who doesn't care about the area. So what's really neat about the land bank is that they stop and say, well, let's be really smart about what we're doing to this property and let's put it in the hands of people that really care.
And the land bank is just, you know, thrilled to be part of making things like this happen in Lansing, working with the private sector, working with business incubators to improve life for everybody in mid-Michigan.
Next, we'll go to the city of Benton Harbor, where the Berrien County Land Bank is working to restore and transform the city of Benton Harbor.
When you lose half your population over a 40 or 50-year period, there's a lot of empty structures that need to be dealt with. And they have not been dealt with under the old foreclosure process. And it left a lot of abandoned properties within the city's hands, and they didn't have the money to tear them down. The beauty of the foreclosure process, beauty of the NSP money, is it's a revolving door of money coming in that's going back out, not to make profit for the local units, because that has never been our goal here, but to do it in the right way, and that is removing blight.
I love the neighborhood. It's quiet, it's real quiet, but lately there's been a lot of abandoned houses. There's still a lot of empty houses over here in this area. And I was most concerned about this one over here because, especially with the kids, I'm a daycare provider. So, and I was most concerned about the abandoned houses on the street with the broken glass and everything. So I was concerned about the kids, you know, playing in this area. There's a lot of kids in this area.
Anytime you can take an empty lot that has been next to a person's homestead for a long time and make it part of their homestead, and they're willing to pay the taxes, and they're current on their current taxes, I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. And that's, I think, the main thing that I can take from what we're doing as Land Bank is we want people to stay in their neighborhoods because they want to, not because they have to. I think.
So when they started doing that, Land Bank started doing that, I was so glad when they came out to demolish that place. It was just a blessing. I said, Lord, I thank you. What I really want to do, I want to get it and put a fence around it. Because, you know, we have a tendency of people to walk across your property, throw balls and everything, but we want to try to keep it real nice. The back part of it, my husband, he loves to, you know, garden. He loves to garden. So this would give him a nice garden back there.
The property that we got from the land bank was property that was been needed for parking. Because like when we have fellowships and stuff, here our parking lot get filled and you got parking on both sides of the street, and it could cause accidents and stuff, you know, especially in the evening time. Oh, the land bank has really helped beautifying Benton Harbor again, because we, you know, if you ride through a city, any city, whether it's Benton Harbor, St. Joe, I don't care where they're, you see houses that are empty. You see them, they're eyesores, what they become eyesores, because nobody's doing no work on them. You see windows, broken glass and stuff and everything. When that's gone, that's helped beautifying your city. That's bringing the city back, so when people that don't know nothing about Benton Harbor, they come through and they see, oh, well, you know, Benton Harbor's it's not that bad, it don't look that bad. Maybe I might want to stay here, you know? And some people will. Everybody won't, but some people will.
Water Street Glassworks is a public studio and school for the glass and metal arts. We are a nonprofit organization here in the Benton Harbor Arts District. We are sort of the foundation of this arts district. I've only been here in the district for about 2 years, and in that short amount of period of time, I've seen huge leaps and bounds here. There's more and more people coming into the district. Of course, we've got Harbor Shores, which is literally in our backyard. And then the Whirlpool new building is being built just down the street. So we're kind of in the crossroads of both of those. Next summer, we have the Senior PGA coming here, which literally is in our backyard. So we're looking forward to being able to share our story of what the real Benton Harbor is to all of those people who have maybe only heard what's on the national news and never really been here. So
it's part of Benton Harbor coming back, because Benton Harbor is coming back, and people do care about Benton Harbor, and they care about how it looks. And we want Benton Harbor to be all that it can be.
We're standing here in the lobby of the Durant Dordt building, the place where General Motors was founded and incorporated, a really important part of Michigan's history. In our next segment, we'll be going to Kalamazoo, where the Kalamazoo County Land Bank Authority is using Michigan's land bank tools for lots of purposes, including new construction and some really interesting greening efforts.
I lived in Kalamazoo about 4 years. When I first bought the house, we had like basically no backyard. I called the land bank and to see if the lot behind us was available, and it was, so we did a split with the other neighbor. We have a side lot now. By me having the side lot, I think it's helped me stay in Kalamazoo because now I have a bigger backyard for my kids to play and enjoy, and it just, you know, brings happiness to us.
The lot that I acquired from the land bank, that lot had been there for quite some time, but through the years, the lot had become dilapidated and the property was really bad, you know. So, in working with the land bank, I was informed that perhaps something could be done about that. And in that process, I was also informed by being a neighbor of that particular property that I would have a chance to acquire that property. So I acquired that lot, expanded my garden, we added a fence for more privacy there, you know. Also, we planted flowers and things like that. So it really made an improvement to my property and also to the area.
We just finished building this, or it's nearly done, and it was done entirely with volunteer labor. It was funded by the land bank, and it's going to be a
community garden resource shed. So it'll house tools and equipment for other community gardeners to share, because not everybody needs a wheelbarrow every day of the week, and we can all share tools and equipment.
We're at the Marketplace development, and we have beautiful homes that are 5-star energy efficient, built by some of the highest quality builders in town. And we've had a lot of interest and a lot of buyers and a lot of purchase offers, so we're happy about how this has progressed.
Since moving into the Marketplace, I've been so impressed with the neighbors that are moving in as well. With a project like this, you never really know who your neighbors are going to be, but the neighbors have just been great. We've really formed a sense of community right off the bat. I would not have lived in this neighborhood if it was not for this.
Instead of trying to save $5,000, $10,000 to get a decent down payment, they have a set rate, and if you qualify, you can get into a home without having to wait maybe 4 or 5 extra years to save that money. And in doing this economy, you have a choice to live now or save for your future. This gave you a chance to actually do both.
The land bank has been there the whole entire way. They ask our opinions, our advice on things, because we're like the experts in the neighborhood, and they're the experts in land banks. So houses that are to be demolished or rehab, we work together on which ones of those should have that happen.
We have some scattered site rehabs. We have a lot of demo projects. We are taking down the Kalamazoo Creamery and the corner of Portage and Lake Street. We're involved in the demolition of the Blakesley Hospital in a redevelopment project there. We are doing new builds on North Rose Street and West Willard Street. We've tried to connect it all to make community building really, really effective, and I think that we've done a good job at it.
Land banks can add value to communities through more than just their housing efforts. So next we go to Traverse City, where the Grand Traverse County Land Bank Authority utilizes their tools to complete a planned pedestrian and bike trail connecting east and west sides of Boardman Lake.
We are standing on what soon will be part of the Boardman Lake Trail system. Back behind me you can see Boardman Lake Trail, and then all on the other side up that way is Developed Trail. And what we're standing on is, well, if I were to step over, land bank property now that will be developed into part of the Boardman Lake Corridor.
It is an exciting project. The Land Bank Authority worked with the City of Traverse City in acquiring MDOT rail right-of-way to connect the west side to the east side of Boardman Lake on a non-motorized walking, biking, hiking trail, and also a new corridor that comes into Traverse City.
Well, we're right on the north end of Boardman Lake. It's part of the Boardman River that runs through the community and empties into Grand Traverse Bay. We're developing a trail system that goes around the entire lake. It'd be a 5-mile loop around the lake. But we also see it as an opportunity for an economic development for new home sites, new businesses that can locate and overlook this beautiful resource that we have.
Since the trail's been built, I probably spend every weekend down here on the trail. I have 2 little girls. My oldest daughter is 6, my youngest daughter is 2. We love to come down here. We ride our bikes to the library, we come down and we watch the sailboats from the Traverse City Sailing Club out here on the lake. And we just have a great time meeting people, meeting our neighbors along the trail.
We have a wonderful trail on the east side of the Boardman River, but there was not one on the west side. And what we've had to do is put the land together and do those kinds of things.
This is the first MDOT road right-of-way that we acquired, and then this is the second MDOT right-of-way that we will require. And this is private acquisitions that we will be acquiring, and we've already had from private donors.
In the case of this Boardman Lake Avenue and the pedestrian trail, it actually made it all happen. Without the land bank, I'm not sure we would have been able to do it.
It's just a great place to live. And it's because of what's happened. It's all the recreational activities that have taken place, the TART trails that are being developed, all the bike trails, the skiing opportunities, the lakes.
I feel really hopeful about Michigan. I feel optimistic, but I also feel like we have our work cut out for us. And we need all the tools we can get to create a great place that attracts people and businesses to Michigan, and I think land banks are one tool to make that happen.
We're standing here in the lobby of the Durant Hotel, one of the Genesee County Land Bank's signature projects and part of the land bank's effort to revitalize this part of Flint and put the community back on the right track. Just like lots of other land banks, there are 40 land banks in Michigan, all working with local elected officials and community partners to put their vacant properties back to work and revitalize their own communities. So if you'd like to know more about land banks in Michigan, you can go to communityprogress.net, or you can visit the Michigan Department of Treasury's webpage and look at their land bank website. I'm Dan Kildee, the host today for Brightside. If you'd like to submit ideas for this show, you can go to brightsidetv.com. All right.
We're gonna do this next.
Of course, I didn't have things like this when I was a child.
Some sticks.
We had machine guns left over from World War II with the bore filled in. But
Hey, will you guys like pound some stuff? You guys like pound down things or something?
I'm standing here in front of land bank blah blah. It's not coming.
So well,
We're house.
And so, sorry, I'm so excited.
I'm holding up my end. Yeah, let's go.